Okay, here we go. Second podcast. First one, believe it or not, I actually got some good response back on it. So, moving forward, as promised, we're going to discuss types of packs, backpacks. It's going to be a brief overview. As always, we'll be going more in detail into everything we speak about. I only want to talk about three types of packs. I'm not going to talk about an inch pack. Inch pack is an admission of, let's say, quitting and giving up. I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in inch packs. I believe in bugging in before I think of running and hiding. Let's be honest, if you gotta run and hide, you need an inch pack. It's pretty bad. You also might have a situation like I'm in where, because of a family member, it prohibits us from actually leaving. We're going to have to stay, and if it starts to go down, if something happens, if we have the collapse of society or social unrest or grid failure or whatever, we're going to have to bug in. Not the most positive thought, but at the same time, the idea of giving up everything we've ever owned and the only thing I'll ever own again is what's on my back, I think is even more depressing. So let's go on with the three kinds of packs that I believe in, that I have, and why I would encourage people to use the three-pack system. Remember, when you're working with these packs, you only pack what you need. You don't pack what you want. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you'll understand as we go on. Again, this is a basic overview, and it's not me telling you what to put in your pack. You need to decide for yourself. But the rule of thumb is take what you're going to need, not what you think you want. If you're going to adopt a three-pack system, all three of your packs should remain packed and ready to go. You should not be packing them when you see a bright flash of light outside. It's too late. Or when you hear the gunfire or anything like that, you should have your packs ready to go on a moment's notice. Also, and I'm probably going to mention this again, don't be pulling crap out of your pack for your everyday life. Like, don't grab the flashlights out of your pack. Don't grab batteries out of your pack if you have batteries in your pack. If you're hungry, don't grab a can of ravioli out of your pack if you have a can of ravioli in your pack. Your pack should remain untouched until you go to use them. It's common sense, but as you get older, you're going to realize there isn't a lot of common sense. Not for pretty much anybody you talk to, and a lot of times not for yourself. Sometimes you just need to be reminded. So keep your hands off your packs until you need to use them. You're rotating stock or you're doing inventory, which I recommend. That's one thing a lot of podcasters recommend, is doing inventory of your packs every couple months or so. I highly recommend it. I do it myself. You'd be surprised what you think you have in there and you don't, or you think down the road, man, I should have that in there. Or even better, why is that even in there? Let's take it out. There's this old saying, it's really old. I believe it was a trapper or a hunter, if you know anybody like that. They have the wisdom of the universe, but one of them made the statement, it's better to be looking at it than looking for it. These are words to live by when it comes to a pack. Think of yourself 2 days out of a 3-day trek home from wherever you were, cold, hungry. You open your pack, and there's a bunch of crap in there you can't use. You'd love to be able to open that pack, look in there, and see exactly what you need. So remember that it's better to be looking at, or I stand corrected, looking at it than looking forward. 3 types of packs. Now that we're going into packs, let's just cover the packs and go from there. The first pack is an EDC pack. That's an everyday carry pack. This is a pack you would have for everyday use. EDC everyday. You're going to use it for everyday use and possibly moving around if there's some kind of civil unrest. Don't forget, this should not look like a military pack. This should be like a backpack, school backpack, not, Hello Kitty or anything like that, but it should be more like a school, like I said, a school backpack. It doesn't have to be camouflage. It shouldn't look military. You'd be drawing attention to it. It shouldn't look like you have it pulled over a shotgun. The barrels are poking through or trying to stretch through the pack. It should be packed light. You should only have essentials in this bag, like small first aid kit, flashlight, very small amount of food, folding knife, preferably a cool tool, like a Gerber multiplier or what do they call it, Leatherman. Perhaps a bottle of water or two. That's it. There should be room for you to put stuff in it if you find it along the way while you're out and about moving around. It shouldn't look like you're packed to run. It should look like a regular pack. If you think about it when you carry your pack going to work or a computer backpack or something like that, unless you're one of those crazy work 18-hour-a-day people, those packs are never full. They're always loose. There's always plenty of room for stuff. That's what it should look like. That's how you stay gray. You look like everybody else. Don't forget also, if for some reason you're stopped and checked, you never know. You just don't know who's going to be out there walking around. You might come up to a military checkpoint or something like that, depending on what's going on. Even in an everyday situation, you look at the streets today, we got National Guard walking around in major cities right now trying to quell the unrest. If they have a checkpoint and you have a bag with a gun in it, you're going to have to explain that gun. If you don't have an everyday carry permit, a legal carry permit, and it's not like, an end of the world shit to hit in the fan situation, and you got a gun in there, yeah, you just walked into it, man. You do not want this. So I would discourage you from carrying a gun at this point in your EDC bag. You can carry pepper spray and get away with that pretty easily. But if you have some kind of weapon system in there and you don't have a permit, you're looking for problems. It would make you a person of interest. It would possibly make you a threat depending on who's searching your bag. You really just don't carry a gun if you don't need it. Things aren't going to shit. If you want to carry it concealed on your person, that's one thing, but this doesn't go in the bag right now. Moving on to the next kind of pack, a 3-day get-home bag. It's exactly what it is. Get-home bag assumes it's going to take you 3 days to get from the point you're starting at to the point you're going to, your destination point. Make no doubt about it, or no mistake about it, this bag is a getting down to business bag. You should have enough food, preferably fat and calories, some fiber, but you really want protein, fat, and calories in there. Useful calories, not empty calories like, Little Debbie. I'm talking about useful calories. The calories you would get from fruit, something like that. You definitely want protein and you want some fat. This is simple, just building blocks for energy. That's all we're talking about right now. You want food you can eat on the move. Food you can unwrap and eat, like, beef jerky or something like that. You want water, possibly powder for energy drinks. I don't know that I'd be carrying energy drinks. If you get cut and need to wash out that cut, you don't want to be dumping Gatorade in there. I'd be carrying plain water and possibly powder for energy drinks. You're going to want a first aid kit, like I said. You want a full tang knife. For those of you who don't know what a full tang knife is, it's the one where the blade goes from the tip of the knife all the way through the handle to the end of the hilt. You don't want a folding. You don't want your life to depend on a folding knife ever. You can carry a folding knife. That's fine, but for an emergency situation or a get-home situation when you're going to be out in the woods and you might need to be splitting wood or excuse me, still have a cold. Something to that effect, you want a full tang knife. You're going to want some water. Can't go anywhere without water. Day 2, if you don't have water, you're going to be in a bad situation. You're going to have a headache. You're going to be miserable. You're not going to be thinking straight. You should have a gallon of water for every day. Now, that's not practical to carry in a backpack for 3 days. However, you should have a couple bottles of water to get you started. You can survive without food for weeks, but you need water. After day 2, you're looking for problems. So have a couple bottles of water in there. You want some form of shelter. I prefer a tarp with paracord. You want to carry a tent, man, go for it, but that's just extra weight. And I don't like these whole, what are they called, inflatable tents. It's bullshit. Get a tarp, learn how to use a tarp for shelter. We can discuss that, but that would be down the road. And I like a bivy bag. They get hot, and just so you know, if it's really cold out, that bivy bag will keep you warm, but you're going to come out sweaty, and sweat and cold don't mix. You'll bring your core temperature down very quickly, so keep that in mind depending on the time of year and what you're carrying. If you're going to use a bivy bag, I would highly recommend that you leave it open at the top. Wear some type of headgear, keep you warm, but leave the bag open. You're going to want to change the socks. A couple changes maybe. If you're going to be walking for 3 days, you know you're going to be tearing your feet up. I prefer to use, I don't know if you know what a vacuum sealer is for food, but any clothing you're going to be carrying, lay it flat inside a bag for a vacuum sealer and vacuum seal the bag shut. There's a reason for this beyond keeping your food warm. If something happens that you have to cross a river or something like that, and you have clothing and items inside those vacuum sealer bags, inside your 3-day pack, you have a flotation device. You learn this in the military, certain branches of service, certain survival training. But yeah, if you keep stuff like that inside of airtight bags, your pack will be able to be used as a flotation device. I wouldn't count on it like in the middle of the ocean, but you could use it to cross a river or a pond or something. One of the last things I'd say to have in your pack is a ham radio and extra batteries. If your ham radio is set up, you have other people on the same frequencies you're using that will know to listen for the ham radio. Don't just take a ham radio out of the box, slap a battery on it, and put it in your pack. The frequencies that are on a ham radio, you're going to be talking to no one. You're going to be sending radiation out into the universe that no one's going to hear. So many people grab ham radios, throw them in their packs, but this is no bullshit. They think they're ready to go just because they have a ham radio because they don't do any research. Don't be like that. If you don't have your radios programmed, and if there isn't somebody out there listening for the frequencies you have programmed, ham radio is useless. I would have a spare battery for that ham radio if you're going to have it. Work out a time for people to listen to it. You know, like 15 minutes after the hour, or 15 minutes after the hour of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 o'clock, something like that. Don't leave your radio on all the time. It'll eat up the battery. Your battery's going to last you days or weeks if you know how to use power efficiency. I would also have some form of light for nighttime navigation, preferably a red headlamp. It doesn't ruin your night vision so much, and it can't be seen from so much of a distance. You would have a light, like a white light flashlight, so you could signal if you had to, but you don't always want people to know where you are. I really recommend you learn to navigate at night with a red light. You're going to need a compass and a map. If it's a grid down situation, which I don't think it's going to happen, but if it's a grid down situation or an EMP or something like that, your maps on your cell phone aren't going to work. Your battery's going to die. You're not going to have any navigation. You need to learn how to use a compass and a topographical map. You can learn this online. You can take a course and have a Boy Scout show you. I don't care, but learn how to use it. It's embarrassing to me how many grown men don't know these skills, enough to get by. Everyone should know how to read a topo map and use a compass. Know a back azimuth, things like that. Stuff that I consider to be common sense. Again, This is serious gear in this pack. If it goes in this pack, it's serious. It doesn't come out unless you're needing it on the run or on the road. Honest to God, you would not know how stupid you would feel if you went to reach in that pack day 2 for something you absolutely need to survive, and it's not there because you got hungry watching the Eagles game, or you got hungry watching the Seahawks or something like that, and you broke into your snacks or your food. Don't do it. Just leave the bag alone unless you need it. Third type of bag, this is getting into the really heavy crap, no pun intended, is a bug out bag. This is a much larger bag. It's a very last resort. This pack will contain everything you can and need to take with you for the possibility of an extended amount of time. This would be more like a week. The pack should have a better tarp system, maybe 2 tarps. You should have more 550 cord. Probably a legitimate sleeping bag. Much more food. I'm going to start now, and you're going to hear me saying this throughout all the podcasts. Be careful how much dehydrated food you carry. Dehydrated food is great. It's light, but it takes an incredible amount of water to rehydrate and to digest. Dehydrated food, if you're in the rear with the gear and you got plenty of water, it's fine. You still need a lot of water to digest it properly. On the run, dehydrated food, if you have copious amounts of water or access to a water supply, is fine, but you don't know that. You don't know the water you want to use is contaminated or anything like that. I highly recommend you carry canned food. It has plenty of moisture in it, and it will help you with the being dehydrated. There's animals in nature that get all their moisture from the food they eat. They don't actually drink water. We would still need water, but consuming food that's water laden will definitely be more healthy for you. Also, dehydrated food and MREs. I'm going to throw MREs in there. If you're not accustomed to eating it, they can really mess you up. Really mess you up. They can stop you up, if you know what I mean. You're not going to be having regular bowel movements. This can also lead to like a diarrhea situation. This is life-threatening in the field. If you're going to be out there for an extended period of time, you can die of dehydration very quickly, and dehydration if you're not getting enough water, and if you have diarrhea, you're going to be losing much more water. So keep this in mind when you're packing food. Yes, canned food's heavy, but it's much better than dehydrated food. MREs are fine if you know how to eat them, if you're familiar with eating them. You know you're going to need more water for MREs. You need a lot of water to digest MREs, and you're used to MREs. Your body goes into like rebellion mode if you start eating MREs out of the blue for a couple days. Stay away from the condiments in MREs. Do not use a peanut butter. Do not use a cheese spread. They will definitely stop you up. They're not going to give you diarrhea, but they're going to keep you from having bowel movements. We're adults here. We can discuss this stuff. If you're getting grossed out, you're never going to make it in the field. Stay home. Starve to death, whatever you got to do. But if this stuff is grossing you out or you think it's disgusting, you have no idea what life on the run can be like. Escape and evasion or anything like that. Get over it and listen to what I'm saying. It's all very useful information. You're going to have more food in this bag. You're going to have more clothing in this bag. You're going to have batteries for lights in this bag. This is the bag you would probably be carrying a weapon system in. Or with, I should say. If you're at the point where you're using a bug-out bag, you're not worried about concealing weapons anymore. You're going to have a sidearm on in a good retention holster. You're going to have a rifle of some type. And you're going to have spare ammo for this weapon system. I'm going to recommend carrying your ammo and magazines. If you're a revolver guy or gal, speed loaders, I guess. I wouldn't say a revolver's a great weapon for a survival situation. However, they are reliable. If you're carrying a weapon system, semi-automatic and a rifle, carry your ammo in magazines. Do not carry it loose. If you got to reload on the move, you don't want to be loading magazines. Trust me, it's a lot easier and a lot smarter to just carry magazines at the ready. You'll thank me for this if the situation ever goes down. You also want weapons cleaning kits in these bags. You're going to be out moving in the rain probably, or snow, or whatever unholy weather's coming at you. You got to be able to clean your bag, or you got to be able to clean your guns and keep them functional. This is a broad spectrum of what you should be carrying to give you an idea, but it's not a complete list or a definite list. You carry what you need, not what you want. You should also be getting an idea of how big this bag will be. Everyone in your group, if you're moving as a group, should have their own bag, including children that are able to walk and support a bag. Now, they're not going to be carrying their life on their back like the adults, but they should be carrying things like maybe a small first aid kit, lots of snacks, whatever sleep system they're going to be using. The kids should be carrying themselves. They should have some kind of activity to keep their minds busy if you have to stop for a while. Anything crucial to this kid getting from point A to point B when you're moving. Yes, they can carry their own shit. Get over the mother bear thing. They can carry their stuff. So to review, it goes without saying that as you move up in size, pack size, two things definitely happen. The bags get heavier and the situation turns more to shit. This also means the bigger the bag, the greater the need for water and caloric intake. This should be part of your pack out plan when you create these packs. No one likes to discuss the next point, but it's extremely important. I'm guilty as everyone else. As you move up in the bags or into the bag escalation conditions, you need to be in better shape. You're not going to go far if you can't go up a flight of steps without having to stop halfway up. So keep that in mind. You need to be in better shape. Let's talk about the tactical false prophets. This is one of those things that, man, these people really upset me. The tactical false prophets are the ones, I think I mentioned before, that try to sell you on the end of the world. The Chinese are at the door. The North Koreans are at the door. 2 EMPs are on the way. Anything to scare you into buying the crap that they're selling. It's amazing that they always seem to have the stuff to sell that is exactly what you need for the situation they're talking about. Ask yourself how you've gotten along through life this far. Ask yourself, if you didn't have the crap they're selling, would you survive? And ask yourself why you're watching this crap on YouTube or Rumble or wherever they are. Like I said before, they have some pretty cool gear, don't get me wrong. But very little of it's actually useful in a survival situation. Any item, what the hell was that? Any item that needs to be run by batteries should be a red flag right away. You don't need an item that runs with batteries except for lights. Very few other items need batteries. If somebody's trying to sell you something for survival and it comes with a large instruction book, don't take it, don't use it. It's going to be too hard to use in the field or on the run or in a dark situation, and you won't have time to learn it. Just don't take anything that comes with a big instruction book. This isn't survival gear, this is a gadget. Leslie, don't take anything that's going to be easy to break. You're going to be throwing your pack around. You're going to be taking your pack off and slamming it on the ground out of frustration sometimes. You're going to move through difficult stuff. Don't take anything that's going to break easy. If you look at it and it looks like it's going to fall off a desk on a carpet and break, don't put it in one of your packs. You don't need it. You could throw my compass across a parking lot and it would be fine, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So don't carry cheap crap. Don't carry stuff that'll break easy. Don't carry shit with large instruction books. And don't carry stuff that takes a lot of batteries to run all the time. Most important, this sounds so corny, but the most important equipment you can take with, that you can have on you in a survival situation, are your brains and a willingness to survive, committing to survival, going into survival mode, possibly going into warrior mode. More on that down the road. But if you don't have these two things, you're not going to make it. This isn't fear mongering. These are facts. These are things that don't cost any money. Your brain does, well, some brains go into survival mode, flight or flight. These are instincts you should travel. Some brains, they're more interested in taking selfies and, drinking Starbucks. Those brains aren't going to make it. You need to be able to go in a fight or flight mode. You need to be able to assess situations. And you need to commit into a survival situation in your mind. This is more important than any gear you can buy. The money you would spend buying crap those TFPs are selling, you could be buying a good weather system, rain gear or warmer clothing for the winter. And more about that, you gotta, I'm hoping I remember to bring this up down the road, but your bag should be adjusted for seasons. You're going to take the winter stuff out in the summer. You're going to take the summer stuff out in the winter. As far as clothing goes, this needs to be kept in mind. Don't forget this point. When you're doing rotation of food and stuff, that's a good time to rotate the clothing and gear for the season. Again, the money you would spend buying the crap that TFPs are trying to sell you, you could be buying a better water filtration system and not that life straw piece of crap. Get the pump, get some kind of a pump that you can use, some kind of a filter you can force water through. If you've ever tried to use one of those life straws, it's like sucking a golf ball through a garden hose, not the good kind. Trust me, you're not going to get enough water if you need it in a hurry. Get a decent water filtration system. Always keep your bottles full. Never throw your water bottles away when you're on the move. You can always stop and fill them. And there you go. Now you've got more water. You used your water filter, you back flushed it after you used it, you're ready to go on to the next water supply. You don't need gadgets that are going to break your first day in the field. Again, I know I'm mentioning it again, but so many of these newbies and wannabes are stocking up on all this gear. I would equate them to something called a whacker in a fire department. They've got 8 radios, 7 pagers. They're going to wear the fire department t-shirt everywhere they go, including church, funerals, and their wedding. We have them in the prepared, or if you want to say prepper atmosphere. Don't be one. You don't need all the crap. Things you need are a first aid kit, the high calorie and protein foods, a true survival attitude, possibly a weapon system if you're in a situation where you can use it. You don't need 50 pounds of ammo, a laser rangefinder, a Barrett 50 cal, a watch that can tell the temperature on Mars. You don't need any of that. The weight you would use to be carrying a very expensive weapon system, rifle, all that crap, you could carry a Glock 19 and a Ruger with adequate extra ammo, and they're going to be 1/5 the weight of one of these high-speed weapon systems these guys try to talk you into getting. Don't get me wrong. If you need to shoot someone in body armor, driving an armored vehicle, an armored car a mile away, then you're probably going to need a Barrett 50 cal. Other than that, stay away from that shit. You need a 10-22, maybe to hit game, game to eat and things like that. But, you can get AR. Don't get me wrong. You can have an AR. 10-22 is going to be lighter, and you can carry 10 times the amount of ammo than you could with even an AR. Think about what you need, not what you want. You're thinking you're going to want that AR to get into a firefight or something like that. I'm going to tell you something, and get this in your head now. Unless you're experienced, trained in combat, close quarters combat, long range combat, engaging multiple targets, all this stuff, you're not going to survive the firefight. So it doesn't matter what you're carrying. Don't get into a firefight, even if you've trained. Avoid firefights. Avoid any kind of confrontational weapons engagement. If you are carrying an AR-15 for protection, you need to get this into your head. You don't want to use it unless it's an absolute, absolute last resort. You do not have an infinite amount of ammo, and once you fire it, it's going to be heard from a mile away in all directions. 1022, not so much. And don't forget, without going into ballistics too much, a headshot is a headshot. It doesn't matter what you're shooting. You shoot somebody in the head or in the groin with a 22, 223, 12 gauge, it doesn't matter. They're done. So carry smart. Again, there's nothing wrong with carrying an AR-15. You're going to carry an AR-15, you might as well carry 5.56. You're going to get more range, probably a little bit more knockdown because you can carry a heavier round and it'll go further. But avoid the firefight. Everyone has these visions of glory, getting into a firefight and, saving the day. That's not you, man. That's not me. Don't do it. Enough about that. Your pack. We got to get back to packs. I got too far off subject. 3-day pack and a bug out bag should have an internal frame and extensive padding and air channels. I like the idea of having a pocket for a hydration system. That's one less thing you got to carry as a camelback. You should have a pocket in there for the hydration bag and straps on the outside to hold the hose. You don't want that getting snug, hung up on something and tearing or whatever, and then your hydration system's useless. You want it close to your pack at all times, inside as much as possible. I hate to talk about it, but so many people think they need ballistic plates. I'm not a fan of ballistic plates. I'm really not. Maybe in the back of the pack, in the pack, okay, but not in a chest carrier. There's several reasons for this. I'm going to touch on it briefly. I don't want a large-scale rebellion because I'm talking about ballistic plates negatively. I don't want people to get crazy about this. I just want you to think about what I'm saying. Have you ever needed them so far? If the answer is yes, because of where you live, then you should probably live somewhere else. Don't require ballistic plates. False sense of security is given by a ballistic plate. They can be your Achilles heel. You got to realize if you're carrying plates that are light enough to move about, survive, blah, 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 you're probably going to get shot by something of a much larger caliber anyhow, so it's going to go right through that plate. Somebody's not going to walk up to shoot you with a gun like they do in the movies. If you're going to get shot, it's going to be by a rifle. If you're carrying plates or ballistic plates with a trauma plate, you have no idea how miserable that is and how heavy that is. This is the truth of it. If you get shot in the head, the plate's not going to do anything. If you get shot in the gut, the plate's not going to do anything. If you get shot in the legs or in the crotch, the plates aren't going to do anything. So think about it. Do you really want to be carrying that extra weight? Also, if it's a Marine or a former Marine shooting at you, it's going to be a headshot, so the plate's not going to do any good. Of course, if it's Army, Navy, Air Force, or Coast Guard shooting at you, you don't need the plates at all because they're not going to hit you, especially if it's a Democrat. Let's be honest. Democrats have proven in the last 2 years they can't hit their target. So do you really need a plate? You get them if you want them. It's a lot of weight to put faith into that probably will get you nowhere. You're going to use up more water, calories, and protein just to lug the plate around. Also keep in mind, for what it's worth, you could carry 40 chicken McNuggets and dipping sauce for the plates for the weight of just one of the front or back plates, not both. Level 3, a ballistic plate is not going to stop a rifle round. Get it into your head. And I'll tell you, unless you try your plates, I wouldn't care what plate it is. I wouldn't trust it to stop a high-power rifle round, 30-06, 308, especially armor piercing. It doesn't matter what plate you're wearing. You're going down. Back to packs. Keep getting off subject. The most important factors in your packs are the quality of the pack and the comfort, and able to get access to what you need. You want it to keep your shit relatively dry. Again, you should have a waterproof cover at the time you purchase your pack. It should not, it shouldn't be anything that could attract attention. It should be a plain earth color, brown, black, green, something that's not going to be seen easily in the field. I don't like putting ponchos over packs. That doesn't work as good as you think it's going to work, ever, ever. So don't put a poncho over the pack. You need to get your pack off in tight or low spaces. Wearing a poncho over your pack, you're going to have trouble getting your pack off. I recommend wearing a pack with a rain cover over rain gear. Hold on. You really need to practice moving with your pack, walking, hiking, and keep in mind your spatial dimensions are going to change geometrically as you move up in pack sizes. You try to move through the brush very quickly at night with a 3-day or bug out bag on. It's not like in the movies. You never see Jack Ryan getting hung up on briars or Jack Reacher getting caught in barbed wire. You, my friend, will. Even if you practice, there's a chance of it. Now, keep in mind, let's always try to find a brighter side here. Movement with a pack is a bitch until you get used to it. Once you become accustomed to wearing a pack, train for hours on end, practice weight distribution, and get your strap set up correctly. No, let's be honest, it's still a bitch. It's not like a flat tire in the mud kind of bitch, but it's kind of like dropping your phone in the toilet kind of a bitch. Packs suck. Don't forget your EDC pack doesn't look like you're going to war. Your EDC pack looks like you're going to class. Keep that in mind. And yes, Einstein's out there. I do realize some college students use military packs for book bags. There is no crossover. The college students will not be out and about in a civil unrest situation. Let's be honest, they will be crying under their beds, clenching their empty Starbucks cups, or doing selfies with MREs that FEMA handed out right after their primitive dance interpretation class. People with military packs in a civil unrest situation are looking for problems. And to be clear, I only pick on college students because, well, they're college students. Look at college campuses right now. When college students stop hating America, act grateful for what they have, stop protesting wars they really don't understand, and stop coloring their hair blue, doesn't make any difference. I'm still going to pick on them. Let's be honest, in a crisis, college students will still be buying Starbucks while the world is disintegrating around them. With the money that comes from us for their grants, of course, they will still be taking selfies with their Starbucks cups, like I said, for their Instagram accounts when the Chinese and North Koreans are storming the beaches in California. The college students still think we, the taxpayers, owe them everything while the world collapses around them. They always will. They are not my responsibility. However, they are low-hanging fruit. I will endeavor to make jokes about them until I take my last breath. Again, got off subject. Sorry. Now, this is something to think about. I really want you to wrap your head around this for the EDC packs. This is probably one of the last things I'm going to cover. What does your EDC pack say about you in a crisis? You might be out. You might be smart enough to monitor the active situation going on. You might be smart enough to look at what people are doing so you can copy that for your gray man approach. You might be smart enough to watch what factions are forming, being prepared to perform, to act on that situation. Are they going to be checking bags? Is it paramilitary? Is it bad guys going through bags and stealing things? You need to be prepared for all of this. You're smart enough to know if food is being handed out. No matter how much food you have, you should be getting online and getting that food. No matter how much food you have in your EDC, you're going to stand up if you pass a food line. You will stand out. Why is that guy not taking food? They're handing out food. That's the questions that are going to be generated if you don't stop. You want to look hungry if everyone looks hungry. You want to look thirsty if everyone looks thirsty. You want to look confused, because if you're dehydrated or semi-dehydrated, you're going to be confused. Personally, I'm very lucky. Confused is my natural look. Some of you, that's going to be hard. You have to cultivate the look in a situation where you need to go gray. And again, we'll be going over gray band in great detail. Right now, just trust me, you need to blend. Favorite line from my cousin Vinny when Marisa Tomei looks at Vinny and says, "Oh yeah, you blend." Um, trust me, sports fans, you want to blend as much as possible. You're going to pack for the situation, not what you want. Remember that. You pack what you need. If the situation's desperate, pack to look desperate. Again, if you get stopped and checked, what's your bag going to say about you? Are you a threat? And again, this is why I would hesitate to pack a weapon unless you think your life is going to be in the line from the time you step off. Pepper spray, again, is a valid option. Be careful what kind. You don't want it to look like police gear. Just get a can of pepper spray. The kind you get your girlfriend or your mom. Don't be getting some, pepper spray that you could pin down a platoon with. You should be able to clearly recognize when you should be armed with a weapon. If you're at the point where you need to pack a weapon, you're pretty much past the recon point and shouldn't be doing recon. You should be in full gray mode. You need to be discreet if you pack, a weapon with the EDC bag. I prefer to have it on my person. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a place where you can access it quickly. If you're at the point where you're carrying an EDC bag, concealment is more important than access. Keep that in mind. Avoid physical confrontations again. If you're in a situation where everyone's tired and hungry and a fight breaks out, not a lot of people are going to be standing around to watch the fight. They're going to be looking for the opportunity to grab or steal water. You should not be stopping to watch the fight or the confrontation or whatever's going on. This would be a good time to get your pepper spray in your hand because shit's about to go down. If you have a gun on you and you're not trained in close quarters combat, don't be breaking your gun out. Last resort, don't forget that. Here's your tactical knowledge bonus number 1. If someone's shooting at you, if someone's shooting at a group of people with a rifle from a distance, you're not going to know where the shots are coming from. You're not going to turn around and eagle eye the shot. You're not going to see them using a laser pointer coming from the point of discharge, a weapon discharge, to the point of the target. Don't stop and look around. Get to cover. Don't stop and pull your pistol out. Your pistol isn't going to do shit in a gunfight with a long-range rifle situation. The right tool for the right job. If someone's shooting into a group of people with a rifle, the right tool is your boots on the ground, running for cover. That's the right tool. Just get to cover. Don't pull a weapon. Give you another tactical knowledge bonus. If you must fight, regardless, hand, knife, gun, bazooka, flamethrower, tactical nuclear grenade, whatever, you need to go into that fight knowing in your head you're going to win the fight and not just hoping for the best. This is the warrior mindset. Again, more on that later. You need to know you're going to get hurt probably, and you need to know that unless you're unconscious or bleeding so fast you're getting dizzy, you can stay in the fight. If it's a knife fight, you're going to get cut and possibly stabbed. That's just the way it works in a knife fight. It's not like in the movies. It's not like where people are banging blades and backing up and banging blades and backing up. That's not what happens in a knife fight. You get cut. Deal with it. You need to be prepared to handle more than one assailant. This is a very real possibility, okay? Guys, girls, whatever, people don't usually attack one-on-one unless they're really desperate in a desperate situation. They're going to attack as a group. You need to be prepared for more than one assailant. If you're attacked by more than one assailant, that's a good time to get your pew-pew out. I wouldn't try to handle 2 people. There was a time maybe I could, but right now, if I'm attacked by more than one person, you're going to hear some pew-pews. It's a bad situation. I don't know how else to explain it. You got to be in the mindset. It's that simple. You're not going to survive if you're not in the right mindset. Um, Lastly, let's talk about how much you should spend on a pack. Um, it's man, this is where I lose people. Spend a lot on your pack. Don't get a pack on Temu. If you did, use it until you can afford a good pack, but don't plan on using that pack until the end of time. I got lucky. My 3-day pack I actually won in a contest, an online contest. I couldn't have afforded this pack. Um, my bug out bag I paid the money for. But my 3-day pack is probably the best pack you can buy, and I got it for free. So good for me. Um, but again, don't buy a pack on Temu. Don't buy a pack at Walmart. Um, don't buy a pack that just barely fits your needs. You want something bigger than that. Um, that pack should be 10 times more rugged than you think it needs to be. You should be able to throw the strap up on a hook and hang on it, and that bag shouldn't tear or rip. Um, Lastly, don't get those packs with the USB chargers in them and the coffee maker in them and all that crap. Leave the James Bond stuff for the tactical losers. You just need a pack to carry your shit, and it's not going to tear. It's not going to get moldy. Um, you're not going to use that tactical shit. Um, Here's a couple things to look for when you're purchasing a pack. This is not an all-inclusive list. It's just my ideas. And, like I said, you get what you want, but this is what I look for when I'm looking at a pack. You should be able to hold everything you require with ample space left over. Every seam should be double stitched, just like a holster. Your shit should be double stitched. There should be thick vented padding for your back. If it's a heavy pack, there should be kidney pads. The pack should have several straps to secure it firmly to your body, including a waist strap and a cross chest strap. The pack should not be reflective in any way, shape, or form. You should purchase the proper size rain cover for your pack when you buy the pack. It shouldn't be an afterthought, and you shouldn't buy it before, because you're not guaranteed that it'll fit. Um, you should, and oh, by the way, this is one place where Temu comes into play. They actually have fairly decent rain packs, or the pack covers. I've seen one of them, and it's actually made fairly well, and they're under $10. So, okay, shout out to Temu. They did something right. You should be able to empty the pack quickly if it gets wet, and it should be able to dry very quickly. It should not be material that holds water, so to speak. Um, you should have wide shoulder straps with good pads. They might not feel squishy, but they should be comfortable when the pack is on. Um, Anything larger than an EDC pack, again, should have an internal frame. Um, Anything larger than an EDC pack should have a pocket somewhere in the pack for a hydration bladder with straps to secure that tubing to the exterior of the pack. You don't want those tubes flopping around. Um, if you feel you need a ballistic plate, the pack should have pockets for a ballistic plate. Um, Again, not for me. The pack should be neutral in color, larger than an EDC pack. Military appearance is acceptable, but it should really try to be more solid than camouflage. Camouflage attracts attention very quickly, and you should have a rain cover. If it is camouflage, use a rain cover at all times. That's how you get around that crap. The pack should have quick release straps, and you should practice using them. Sometimes you got to drop your pack. It just happens, especially like getting to really confined spaces. You should have a drag strap on it so when you move through the confined space, you can pull your pack through behind you. Um, this will sound stupid, but your pack shouldn't have 90-degree angles on it like some of the packs I've seen. I don't get that. It looks like a box on your back. Don't do that. Just don't. Many reasons. But remember, there are no 90-degree angles in nature. Don't bring them into nature. Um, just get what you need, not what you want. All the things I just mentioned, in my mind, you need. Keep that in mind. Tip number one for buying a pack. This is a biggie. Don't tear the tags off your pack after you buy it right away. Fill it with weightlifting plates wrapped around a towel, 20 to 30 pounds. Put it in a pack so it doesn't move around. Cinch it tight on your back and go for a long walk. See how it feels. Is the weight distributed properly? Is it comfortable, or is it one of those situations where you can't wait to get home to take it off? Can you drop the pack in an instant? If the pack is giving you problems, take it back right away and try another one. Remember how that 30 pounds felt and keep it in mind when you're buying your pack in the future. You could be wearing it for days. Tip number two, this is probably the most missed tip with carrying a pack. Things you need in an emergency should go on the top of the pack. First aid kit, weapon system, things like that go on the top, not in the bottom. You don't want to be having like an arterial bleeder digging through your pack through Slim Jims, tarps, crank radios, whatever, trying to find your first aid kit. First aid kit should be on the top. Your tourniquet should not be on the outside of your pack. It should be inside your pack, but you should be able to get to this shit right away. I gotta admit, a good pack is not going to be cheap. If you have to save before you get it because it's expensive, wait and get a good pack. Do not get a cheap pack just to get by. Please, 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 do not get a cheap pack just to get by. Straps will break, packs will tear, you'll lose gear. It's not worth saving the money. The end of the world isn't knocking at your door right now. You have time. Get what you need, not what you want. I want to start closing these with a statement. I came up with this one probably about 2-3 years ago. I don't use it a lot, but it is one of my favorite statements that I've ever just come up with. Honestly, I didn't get this from anyone else. This one came to me after watching The Wizard of Oz. And I remember saying to the person watching it with me, and it goes, the wizard should have killed the cowardly lion. He will always be a coward. I'm not even sure what it means, but it sounded good at the time. It made me laugh. I guess what I'm saying is if you're a coward, you're always going to be a coward. You need to react accordingly in a combat, tactical, shit-hit-the-fan situation. Don't be thinking because you have a gun, you're a hero. Don't be thinking because you have a gear, you're a hero. Remain a coward. Remain in the shadows. Do what you got to survive. That's it. Talk to you on the next one.